Hi, this is Bex Grennan, and you're listening to the Studio Success Formula podcast.
Welcome to the Studio Success Formula podcast, the business school for dance studio owners. And now for your host, Clint Salter.
Hey there, studio owners. It's Clint Salter from Studio Success Formula, and thank you for joining us. Our guest today has performed with Hugh Jackman in The Boy from Oz, Grease, Singing in the Rain, and more. She's an actor and more recently has been helping talented performers with breaking into the always manic and unpredictable entertainment industry. Please welcome to the show, Bex Grennan. Hello, Bex.
Hi, Clint. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. Now, Bex, I want to ask, how did you get involved in this world of entertainment?
Well, I've been dancing and singing and acting since I was a kid, so it was really the only thing that sort of made me super happy and made me have a sense of belonging. So I knew pretty early, say at like age 10, that I was going to be a performer as a job. I started going to extra classes outside of my regular training classes, and I joined this little company called the Ballet Theatre of Queensland, which is an amateur dance company up here in Brisbane. And I had about 5 years experience dancing with that company and honing my stage skills and things. And I was also just really curious and wanted things to happen as a child. So I wanted to know also how to be on TV. So Mum encouraged me to use the phone book to contact, TV stations and send off my resume and things like that.
Wow, fantastic. So you were kind of actively reaching out and starting to build relationships with people.
Yeah. I saw that was the way that it had to go, because we really had no clue about agents and things like that with my family, but I just had a keen interest in trying to make sort of new experiences happen because it just looked like so much fun and I wanted to do it.
And you loved it?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, great. And so what kind of happened from the kind of reaching out and sending in the show reel, which I'm sure lots of other people were doing as well, but did you see that help you at all in terms of progressing your career as you got older?
Yeah, definitely. Even though I didn't get any feedback from that age, I think it was still in the age of phone book and sending a resume, at 10 years old.
Yellow pages.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose it set up the, success formula that I've used moving forward, and it's always been to just put myself out there and give it a go and see what can happen from taking a risk, really.
Yeah, and do you think that that's a big part of it is, you talk about getting out there and giving it a go. Many of our studio owners that are listening at the moment, have those students who, have a lot of potential and they can see working in the industry. I mean, is it about really getting out there, preparing yourself for what you might call failure, being rejected, but keep on keeping on?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the hugest thing. That's the biggest thing that I see with people with success and who've got the longevity in the performing arts world. It's just understanding and sort of coming to terms with that rejection, and then understanding it's not a personal thing. It's always to do with a look or the panel. It's outside of yourself sometimes that this situation has occurred. So it's just having the tenacity to keep going, and that I really see is what has made people really successful in their journey.
Yeah. Now, as a performer, what do you believe was the most valuable piece of information your teacher gave you as you were developing your craft?
Yeah, I had a few great teachers actually growing up, but my first ballet teacher really taught me about discipline and how important that is to be a performer, because she really instilled a high expectation of my work, which I feel has helped me continue to grow, because it's a lot of it is once you get out in the big wide world, you have to self-manage and you have to do it yourself and self-start. So with that discipline, that was a great lesson that she taught me.
And what's your definition of discipline?
It's doing the thing that you know you need to do, even though you feel like you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Exactly. And there's I don't know if you've read Rory Vaden's book, Take the Stairs, but that's a big principle that he talks about is discipline, doing those things that are going to move you forward that you don't necessarily want to do, but there's another great book, Slight Edge, Jeff Olson, and he talks about the fact that, the things that they're quite easy to do, right? Like getting up and going to the gym every morning, it's quite easy to do, but it's also quite easy not to do.
Yeah. It's those small little steps that you just have to keep making and keep taking daily. And it can be challenging, but it's like once you start to do those little things, you get the momentum flowing, and that's my tip.
Cool. So that was one of the lessons that one of your teachers taught you about discipline. What were some of the others?
Some other teachers I had in the Ballet Theatre of Queensland, I had Chris Gillard and Louise Hellawell, and they really encouraged me to tell the story of what I was performing, and they really supported the a comical side of my personality to bring out my performance. So I guess they saw a strength, and their lesson was to encourage me to foster that, which was great. And then, of course, at Brent Street Studios in Sydney, Kelly Abbey was my mentor, and she taught me to dance from the heart and to leave all the other stuff behind. So, that then took it up a level, and then the performance became more about, just a heart-based performance, which is what an audience loves to see. So they were great lessons.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think, I know you've seen lots of dance studios, worked with lots of students and teachers. What do you think is some of the, I'm going to call them mistakes, it's probably not the best word, but what are some of the mistakes you think studio owners are making when they're developing their talent for a career? What do you think they are?
I think that the mistakes that some teachers and some studios are making is that maybe not being as realistic as possible as to prepare the students for the challenges in the outside world, and maybe the mistakes they're making is not focusing on the mindset stuff or the professional development stuff, because that can be really of great benefit, in
any part of life, whether it's in our career, in our love life, around money, anything in our life, I think mindset is crucial for success.
Yes, 100%. And so if that was introduced into studios, I think that we'd have a lot more educated and a lot more confident performers going forward, and a lot more performers who would be taking risks and also staying in the game longer and really trusting their own journey. That'd be really cool. I suppose also another thing is that studio owners can teach their kids that there's going to be hundreds of other talented students out there vying for the same job, and that the key is that they need to keep their head down and focus on their own journey, like I said, and to keep working daily on the craft, and don't compare their journey to someone else's, And I suppose those other skills of mindset, but also the relationship building skills, they're equally as important as the work that you do in your craft as a performer, because choreographers and directors like to work with nice and open people who have good attitudes and who are easy to work with. So there's some tips.
Yeah, some excellent lessons there. That first one I think is about, the first point you made, I think, is really around having, building that resilience muscle.
Yeah.
I think that resilience is a huge quality that you need as a performer in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
And again, it's that persistence of, knock down, get back up, knock down, get back up.
Persistence pays.
It does. It does. I love what you said about don't compare your journey to someone else's, because I think that in itself is really important. I mean, social media has been fantastic in terms of, connecting and keeping in touch with people. But, I've seen it with a lot of students that are at studios. A lot of our members in our program have talked about their students feeling disheartened and distracted by social media because they see other people maybe winning jobs or getting certain results at competitions or winning roles in recitals or in concerts that they wanted, and it disheartens them. So I think about keeping really true to what it is you want and focusing on your craft is a big part of getting to that point where you are working and you are getting jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely done it. I've looked at other people's journey and had that jealousy, and I'm like, now I can go, okay, what is it that I'm jealous of, and what are they doing that I can do more of to help myself? So say, someone's getting higher roles or better opportunities that I think that I would like to do. I go, well, they're probably working a little bit harder maybe daily on their craft, and they're a little bit more, this, and then I can, implement it in my own journey as well.
Exactly. And I think that's about, recognizing the jealousy or the envy. But envy is just looking at someone and seeing something that you want that they have that you don't, and then working out, okay, you can, model their behavior, model the action that they're taking to get a similar result to what they're getting.
Yes,
you know,
that's right.
instead of looking at it as, you know, a defeat. You know, well, they got this and I didn't. Boo-hoo to me.
I suck. Yeah, exactly.
Lie on the lounge, you know, eat a Magnum and watch, you know, a season of your favourite TV show.
Friends,
so I think that they're really good. And again, relationship skills. And I think this is a big one, especially in young dancers. They just burn bridges.
Yeah.
You know, so I think as a studio owner, we really need to step it up and teach our students about communication and reaching out. That's why I love that your mum was like, yeah, get out there, talk to the casting directors, talk to the television networks and send them your show reel and a cover letter. I mean, build relationships with these people, because you're right. You know, I know, if we're talking about here in Australia, you know, like Kelly Abbey and the Square Division and Marco Panzic, you know, the people that are hiring amazing talent in this country, and it's the same over in the States and the UK, the people that are casting, you know, TV and film clips and musicals, they can't always afford to do an open audition or an audition for, you know, these roles. So they're going to pick up the phone, and on speed dial are going to be the hard workers, the people that turn up with great energy and are ready to work hard. So I love what you said there. Thank you for sharing that. Now, we've got many studio owners who are listening, who are training their students for a career in showbiz. What's the one thing you wish you knew then that you know now?
I think the one thing that I wish I knew then that I know now probably is the success mindset. It's so important that you need to have your focus and your goals, you know, and I think that needs to be nurtured, and that needs to be a focus throughout your career. And, you know, not to get off track a little bit, or it's just to really stay persistent and really stay focused to your craft.
Yeah. And I love that as well. And, you know, there's many studios now that are, which I love, you know, that are producing journals at the beginning of their new year for their new students. So instead of getting, you know, like a fridge magnet or a tutu, they're giving them journals.
That's
great.
You
know, so that they can actually, you know, journal, you know, every night or every week even, you know, about their week and how they, you know, what they've done to get themselves closer to their goals. And, you know, that's really beautiful, and I really support that, because I think, again, it comes back to that personal development side of things, and that's what's really, you know, what's really going to help them in the long run in life, totally. Whether they choose to be a performer or they go and work in an office, whatever their decision is, I think it's just going to, you know, build stronger human beings.
Yes, beautiful. Definitely.
Now, you know, I talk with studio owners about having a success mindset, which is what we've talked about quite a bit already. What advice would you give them about preparing their students for success? So we've talked about, you know, educating them around their mindset, but what's something tangible, practical that a studio owner could do, maybe in a class, or, you know, would they run a workshop? What are some suggestions that you've got there?
Definitely. I think studio owners, the more that they can have exposure to industry professionals, or the more that they can have exposure to on the beat, like what's happening now in the industry information, the better. So that's in terms of having workshops on audition preparation, it's having mock auditions, it's having guest teachers come in from interstate where there is more things happening. And it's also, I think, the studios to have a little bit more flexibility in allowing their students outside of their studios to do these extracurricular activities. Because I noticed that some studios are a little bit like, this is ours, and we don't want our kids to go out, because I don't know why, but I just think that the more that they can encourage things to come to the studio, or students to go to workshops or go to experience these professional development things, the better. Yeah,
exactly. And I think, again, you know, that comes down to the studio owner having an abundant mindset. You know, that just because they go to a workshop at another studio, or they go somewhere else, I always say, if you're providing the best service, the best training, your students aren't going to leave you.
No.
You know, and some will, some naturally do, and that's totally cool because they're the ones that you don't want to have there anyway. You know, they're not your ideal students and parents, so that's cool. But you want to give your students the most amount of opportunity as possible, and they're going to thank you for putting those opportunities in front of them as well.
Yes, exactly. Totally.
But that's, you know, that's great. And I'm a big fan of running, you know, specialty workshops in studios to, you know, to work on the life stuff with these students. You know, I think it's really valuable. And that's another way that you can have your studio stand out. Everyone's always asking, you know, how do we stand out from the person down the road or downstairs or up the road, wherever they are? We know that it's competitive. We know that in most areas there's a dance studio on every corner. And so doing something like this is a definite way for you to be able to stand out and add value to your tribe, to your community.
Yes, definitely.
Now, as a studio owner and a teacher, you know, we can have that class that's really talented. This has happened to me a lot of times, you know, that's super talented, but, you know, they don't come to class all the time. They can be, lazy. Sometimes they have a bit of an attitude and they're not always, you know, a pleasure to teach. And so as a studio owner, what are some ways that we can turn this type of class around?
I think team building is really important. So if you've got some of that attitude, if you've got some of that laziness, there's some different things that you could do outside the studio in terms of, you know, going on an excursion together to do something to build that rapport as a group. Team building is a really important thing when it comes to that. And also, you know, incentives. So getting guest teachers in for those students because maybe they want a bit more of a challenge or they're needing a bit more of a challenge. So things like that.
Yeah, and I think that also helps around retention.
Yeah. Totally.
I think if you pull all the pieces together about what we've been speaking about, the mindset, you know, building the resilience, you know, keeping them engaged and focused on the task ahead, and giving them, you know, great opportunities within the studio. I think that's going to give you a much better performing class.
Yes, definitely.
As we wrap up, Bex, I'd love to know what's some last kind of a piece of advice that you'd love to leave our studio owners with.
Just to know that you guys are doing such a good service to the community, you know, and also to just keep an open mind and keep growing with the industry as it grows. Try and keep up with the times. Try and evolve the business so that the students are getting as much exposure to the current and the now as possible. Yeah, and just have faith that what you're doing is growing these beautiful young performers and students. Yeah,
when you talk about, you know, the first point that you made, that, you know that you're doing a great job, do you see, you know I see it, you know, with some of our members, do you see studio owners undervaluing their service?
Definitely, I'm just a little, you know, out the back kind of dance school, you know, that wouldn't be for us, or, you know, or I would, you know, we're only this size, but I think that there's so much more potential if people would just be open to seeing it like a bigger opportunity. Yeah. If they want it to be.
You know, exactly. And really treating it as a business. You know, I talk a lot about shifting from the dance teacher to the business owner.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a big kind of mindset shift that needs to happen to be able to do that. You know, it's quite a big transformation.
Yeah. Because you go from the technician to the entrepreneur, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, you've read E-Myth, Michael Gerber?
Yes.
Have you? Yeah. And so he talks about that a lot, and it's so relevant for the dance industry.
Yes.
And so for any studio owner that's out there that hasn't read E-Myth by Michael Gerber, go and grab it, because you'll read it and go, this is me.
Yeah.
It's an awesome book. And the other thing that I think that you mentioned, which is awesome advice, is grow with the studio. I spoke with a studio owner in the States yesterday morning, and she's been in business for 30 years. And she's like, Clint,
wow.
I don't, what we did, even a couple of years ago isn't working anymore. Our students are leaving. We're not getting the new enrollments that we used to. What's going on? I need help. And so I think that's a really important point, is that why the core of the business, the fundamentals, stay the same. The way that businesses are operating has changed, dramatically, and especially dance studios.
Yeah, it's huge. Grow. Otherwise, you'll shrink.
Yeah. And that great saying that, doing what you do today doesn't mean that you'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow's a new day. There's new technology, being introduced to the business marketplace and even the dance industry, like every day. And so, we're grateful that we get to help out, our members with that. I know that you help people as well in terms of being able to shift that mindset and
I do.
And get into, and have a career in the industry. It breaks my heart, and I'm sure you've seen as well, when I see amazing, performers who are not doing what they should be doing because, that they get that rejection that then means that they don't audition for 6 months, because they're like, well, I can't do it. They don't like me. I'm not good enough. That comes up a lot.
It took me, after my full-time course, I thought, straight into a show, you just come out of full-time with so much confidence. And I got my first rejection pretty much, a week out of full-time. And I was disheartened so much. But I was like, I had a teacher Kelly Abbey, she was like, I went for about 6 or something. It was 4 to 6 jobs before I got my first break. So I was like, oh, thank goodness. So it does come. You just have to keep at it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Bex, look, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Where can our studio owners go to find out more information about you and what you offer?
Thanks, Clint. They can go to my website at bexgrennan.com, that's BEXGRENNAN.com, where they can pop in their details and get my 3 free favourite resources for
3 free?
Yeah, that's a tongue twister.
That's a tongue twister.
3 favourite resources for performers and teachers. And they can also head to soyourkidwantstobeastar.com, and that's all one word, and you get my complete guide for parents of young performers. It's a step-by-step guidebook to really guide your child on the way to get an agent, casting directors, headshots, the ins and outs of the industry up to date, with plenty of extra bonuses in there, some CDs, MP3s, and an interview series from working industry performers, as well as an interview with an agent. Fantastic. So they can go there. Yeah.
Awesome. Look, that sounds great. And that's a great resource for studio owners that are listening. You can send that link in your next newsletter or put it on your private Facebook group so that your parents can get access to that, because that would be a great resource for them.
Beautiful. That'd be lovely.
Awesome. Thanks again so much, Bex. Good luck. I know we were just talking before the interview, and you've got a lovely 2-week-old little boy.
Yes, he's beautiful. Luca, my 2-week-old little boy. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah, definitely, little Luca. Well, good luck with being a mother, first time around.
Thank you very much.
And thanks again for contributing to the Studio Success Formula podcast.
Pleasure, Clint. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Studio Success Formula podcast. To take your studio to the next level and beyond, head to studiosuccessformula.com.